Hey everyone, welcome to week 7 of this fall semester. It is the first official week of fall. How exciting! It's taken us 7 weeks to get to fall in the fall semester. So I'm very pumped. It's already feeling really nice. I took a run this morning and it was like 61 degrees. Ooh. Which, I mean, being from the South, 61 degrees in the morning means it is fall. It is cool. While many other people, that might still be warm for them, but for us here, hmm, great, great, great. So this week, I will be knee deep in grading people's essays. Y'all, everyone should have had turned their essays in by last night, Sunday. And my goal is to get the essays graded as soon as possible. That might be within a week. That might not. I don't even know how many people have submitted their essays. I did grade 15 essays last week. By 15 people had submitted their essays by Friday, which was awesome. And I just went ahead and started grading them, which means that, like, for me, this is good because I'm gonna go ahead and try to knock these out. I'm gonna try to do a few a day so that I'm not trying to rush through and grade like 20 a day. But that means that if you have not turned in your essay yet, there's a chance that you could get a late penalty. As of right now, I'm not giving anybody a late penalty for not having turned in their essays because I'm not done with all the essays. And my rule is that as long as your work is there by the time I go to grade it, it's not late. But once I grade everybody's work and I have no more to grade, then I start putting zeros in. And then once you have a zero in the grade book, the highest grade you can get is a 70. And while that applies for classwork, that also applies to your essays. So let's just say I have a great day. I have a very focused on track day and I get a bunch of essays graded today and I get a bunch of essays graded tomorrow and then I'm done. What if I'm done grading essays come Wednesday? If you have not turned in your essay by Wednesday, it's going to be a zero. And then the highest grade is going to be, once you do turn it in, even if it's just fantastic, is a 70. Okay. So you need to make sure that if you have not already submitted your essay, that you are getting it done and submitted. And I would suggest trying to get it submitted as close as tonight. Okay. Now, at the same time, I say that, but maybe I don't end up grading them all until Friday. So you might be able to turn it in Wednesday, Thursday night, and still be cool. Because again, I don't have enough time in my life to look at when people have submitted their papers. Okay. And again, it doesn't really matter until I go to grade it. And you don't know when I'm going to grade it. We have the safe date. The safe date was last night. Nobody was going to be held accountable for not submitting their paper prior to last night. But now, though, you can't. So you're playing a game of craps or chance or poker or blackjack. Okay, you're running the risk. Okay, just to be clear. But look, we're done. We're done with Unit 1. Fantastic. Now we're gonna move on to Unit 2. Okay. Now I will say this: those of you who have not turned in your papers yet, to try to motivate you faster, you definitely want to get your paper in before I give out zeros. Is this: you have the chance of, as long as you turn in your paper before they become zeros, then if you are not happy with the grade you receive on essay 1, if you perform better on essay 2, I will replace your essay 1 grade with your essay 2 grade. But that's only allowed for those who turn their essays in before I start putting out zeros. So let's say you submitted your paper last night. Or maybe some of you who submitted your papers last week and I've already graded your papers. There are people who submitted their papers last week that I graded, that only made 85s. Okay. Let's say you're not happy with an 85. You wanted a 95 or higher. Then if you make a 95 on SA2, which I'm going to start talking about today, then I will replace your SA1 grade with your SA2 grade if the SA2 grade is higher. But if you get a 70, if I grade everybody's essays and you did not turn your paper in and you got a 0, but then you turned your paper in and you got a late grade of a 70, and the only way you get a 70 is if you would have gotten a 100 if it had been turned in on time. Just because you turned in late doesn't mean you get an automatic 70. You might get a 40. You might get a 50 if the essay has errors in it. Okay. So if you get a low grade because I'm replacing a 0, all right, that low grade is going to stick. I am not replacing that grade with week 2's essay because you failed to turn it in by the due date, by the time that I needed it. Okay. So do you understand that? If you are right now, as of right now, if you have not turned in your paper, you are running the risk of losing the ability to be able to make up the grade from week 2. So I say that just to emphasize that if you have not submitted your paper yet, you need to go ahead and do it. You need to go ahead and do it. Okay. So that way you don't disqualify yourself from being able to get a makeup grade. Okay. All right, great. So here we go. Let's go to what we're actually doing today. All right. So that's not our class. Where's our class? Here we go. Okay, announcements. I have posted some announcements. The essay link. I mean the lecture. The things I'm going to discuss today are going to be in week 7. You have the assignment, which I'm going to go over, and this link to this film that I'm going to talk about as well. If you follow along, as you should, with our list of due dates and assignments, this week we are discussing intros to cause and effect essays and comparison contrast essays and classification/division essays. Your essay 2 will be using cause and effect, compare, contrast, classification, and division. Okay. So the things I go over today will be directly related to what you'll be writing essay 2 on. All right. So let's make sure that we pay attention, that we read the things I ask you to read, that we follow on the notes, we do all those kind of great things. Okay. Okay, here we go. Let's go to this PowerPoint. Can we start from the beginning? Thank you. All right, here we go, y'all. Woo, woo. Essay 2 style is like my back to school. It's not back to school. It's fall theme PowerPoint. It looks like an elementary school PowerPoint, which is fantastic. You have no sense, you have no ability to smell my room, but if you did, you would smell the wonderful fragrance of cinnamon. Because I bought a cinnamon broom from the grocery store, and I love a cinnamon broom. So some of you who might be disgusted by cinnamon, you're probably then actually thankful and happy that you're not in here. Well, like, who doesn't like to wear flannel, drink from a clay cup, and smell this sweet aroma of cinnamon? Very nice. Very nice. All right, let's get down to business. Essay 2. Cause and effect, classification, division, comparison, contrast. Here we go. Cause and effect. Cause and effect. I think most of you should know this already, that you're looking at how you can analyze the ways in which one or more effects can result from a particular cause. Cause and effect. The cause is the thing that starts something. The effect is the result. Cause and effect. The starter and then the result. The effect is what happens, like the outcome, the ending, the conclude. Okay, the cause is what took place, what started it all. It's the domino effect. The first domino is the cause, and then everything being knocked over is the effect. Okay, you can analyze the ways in which one or more effects can result from a cause, or you can analyze the ways in which one or more causes lead to a particular effect. You can focus on effects, you can focus on causes. If you read things, sometimes we are reading a cause and effect style argument, but it's only focusing on one of those. And then, or it's focusing on the other one. We could talk about, like, the great the recession, the economic crisis in the late 2000s, 2008. We can look at the cause of the crash, the cause of the home the real estate depression that we went into. Okay, the cause of all of the debt and the foreclosures, or we can look at the effect, the long lasting effects of this. So, like, let's say we look at COVID and the pandemic. We can look at the cause of it, how it spread. So we can look at, like, those months from, God, it happens pretty fast. It feels like the first couple of cases being discussed in, like, August, September, all the way through till March, the cause of the pandemic. Or we can look at the effect of it coming out of the pandemic. Like right now, we're still, as educators, we're still studying the academic effects of the pandemic on our students and test taking. All right, cause and effect. There are different types of causes. What we first see are often the superficial contributing reasons. Hiding just out of sight are the fundamental causes. And then we have the primary cause. So you could, if you're picking a topic that you want to discuss, and you could look at all these different things that caused the downfall or caused the creation of something, and you can look at these, like, little contributing and fundamental causes, and then a primary cause. So the whole essay doesn't have to be cause and effect. It can be really just focused on, like, a cause. We can say pollution is caused by transportation, manufacturing, and humans. So, like, transportation would be a contributing reason. Okay. Manufacturing could be, like, the fundamental cause, because manufacturing deals with transportation and it deals with the factories. But of course, the primary cause of pollution could be humans, because we wouldn't have manufacturing and we wouldn't have transportation if we didn't have humans. Okay. So there's transportation, manufacturing, and humans. Transportation is a contributing reason. Manufacturing is a fundamental cause, because it's a bigger bubble. With manufacturing, we have factories, and then we have all the transportation that it requires to get from the factory to the people, and then we have the people themselves. We have the people who are purchasing and buying all the stuff, and we have the humans who are creating all the stuff, and they're the primary cause. Okay, so you can write a whole paper on just the causes of something. You don't have to do the cause and the effect. But you can also focus on the effect. Of course, not every cause and effect essay is about the causes. In fact, some may center on the effects of a single cause. What are the effects of air pollution? So you could write something like this. Air pollution negatively affects plants, animals, and humans. Humans. Okay. Pollution does. And so if you want to argue that pollution has led to climate change and the impacts of climate change impact plants, animals, and humans, and you want to talk about the animals, you could talk about the all of the livestock who died of heat stroke over in, I think it was uh, Ohio or Idaho. It was one of those states this past summer, which that impacts humans, the livestock. It's bad enough when animals die. It's so sad. But then when you have all these animals that are going to be providing food, that are being raised for the sole purpose of providing food to humans, die. That means that the humans don't have food. So there are very many negative impacts of air pollution and climate change. So if you're thinking about maybe writing a cause and effect essay, when selecting topics for this type of essay, a good writer should consider questions such as, what is the end effect? Do I want to write about that? Am I motivated by that? Am I impassioned by the end effect? Is there one primary effect or are there like several effects? You got to think about like body paragraphs. Each body paragraph is on a different idea. So what are the different things you want to talk about in your body paragraphs? Is there one primary cause and are there several causes? Do I want to do a cause and actual effect? So self focuses on causes would be like the causes of high divorce rates in some countries, the causes of World War One, the causes of a certain type of cancer, the causes of pollution, the causes of changes in weather over the past century. Or you can focus on the effects of divorce on families, the effects of World War One, the effects of cancer on the body, the effects of pollution, the effects of changing weather on society. You could do a kind of a whole essay on both two causes and then the effects. What are two causes of changes in the weather, and then how has that affected society? Um, what are some causes of World War One, and then what was the effect overall of World War One? Okay, you can do both as well. So I put a link in the on the Week 7 page to a documentary called Food Incorporated. This came out like 12 years ago, but it's still very relevant. In fact, they just made it recently. They made a sequel to it. It's a documentary about food, about the way our food is made and the impacts on us, okay, and our unintended consequences of the way that we make food. This documentary, I provided a link to watch it for free. It does really well. Its ability to use comparison and contrast, and what we'll see a little bit later, okay, is classification and other and cause and effect arguments, which is what we're all talking about today. It uses these strategies really well and to argue its thesis. Okay, one of the sort of like chapters of the film is called unintended consequences. Right. This chapter of the film focuses on one of the unintended consequences of our current food system, the occasional contamination of the food supply, and the very real risks presented to the population. Okay. The film puts a face on this problem by interviewing the mother of a toddler who died from E. coli, which was contracted from eating a hamburger. The film describes how feeding cows corn, a cheap, abundant crop because of subsidies, has increased the evidence of E. coli since corn raises the level of E. coli in cows' guts. In light of this high risk of contamination, the film shows meat packers taking such measures as using ammonia to cleanse meat meant for human consumption. Okay, so like it talks about how we feed cows corn because corn is really cheap. So you can make corn, and corn makes cows fat. So you're paying less money to feed them, and you're getting more meat out of them. But the corn does not all digest and starts to rot and it forms E. coli. They literally have to uh, insert these holes into the cow's stomachs where clinicians can reach in and pull out undigested corn out their stomachs while they're just chilling. But a lot of it does not get pulled out, and so it festers and it creates E. coli. And then these cows poop out the E. coli, and they hang around their manure all the time. And then when they go to get slaughtered in the slaughterhouse, the manure can get into the meat in the factory, and then we have E. coli in our food. The E. coli forms here, pooped out, and it's here, and then it finds its way into our food. Okay, and it talks about how once cows stop eating corn and they go back to eating grass, they stop having E. coli breakouts. The problem, though, is that cows who eat grass are thinner and leaner, which means their meat is more expensive. Cause an effect. Division. This is where we take one and we divide it into many. Take a topic that is usually seen as one thing and then break it up into distinct pieces. So, like this website here talks about how the Democratic Party has verification has many different really has like there's different levels of Democrats, all right? And so like this talks about the super progressives, the very progressives, the progressive new guard, the progressive old guard, the moderates, and then the conservative Democrats. All these people that this talks about are Democrats, but they're all kind of have a different slant and they vote differently. And so one Democrat who is a super progressive will be seen very differently as sort of a Ted Kennedy style conservative Democrat. Okay. This is called vision. You take a topic and you break it down so people see how it's a little bit, it's not just really just one. All right. It seems like one whole thing, but really though we are, I mean, the same kind of thing with like America. We're Americans, woo. But there's your New Englander kind of American. There's your Southern American. There's your West Coast California American. There's your nature centric but very depressed Northwestern Seattle based American. Then there's your Midwest American. There's your plains fields Americans. There's all kind of different types. There are an abundant different types of ways that we identify ourselves and see ourselves and have our own outlooks on things. So, while we might all be Americans, we all have really very different worldviews. Okay. That's division. Something that seems like I love horror fiction, but there's like all these different subgenres of horror fiction. Okay. So division is talking about the subgenres. Classification is organizing things into categories and giving examples of things that fit into each category. All right. So many into groups. We have like a whole bunch, and then we want to like put them into groups. So like we have a whole bunch of Americans who are all politically active. Okay. So now we need to put them into different groups. So we have the Republican Party, we have the Democratic Party, we have the Libertarian Party, we have the American Communist Party, we have the Green Party. Okay. And so these are groups that were always seen as different. And this is what makes them uniquely different. It was never misunderstood that they were similar. Division is when like we assume they're all the same, but then you're saying, no, it's not all the same. There's subgroups. Classification is like we have all these different people. Let's put them in obviously different groups. Okay. And so it's you have each of your own little chunk. Comparison and contrast essays. We have contrasts draw out differences between two subjects. Comparisons outline both similarities and differences between two subjects. Usually when we like do classification and division, then you're naturally going to be doing some comparison and contrast to kind of show how they're similar, but how they're different. Demonstrates how one subject is superior in some way to the other. Not always. Sometimes it's just different. Demonstrates how two subjects which appear dissimilar are actually similar. Instead of judgmental, maybe informational. So again, if I was going to divide horror fiction into subcategories, I would say, look, there are some similarities, but my division is based on the contrasts. All right. You have your slasher novels, and then you have your haunted house novels. You have your ghost stories, but then you have your occult stories. All right. There are some similarities, but they are contrast. Division and classification usually goes hand in hand with comparison and contrast. Okay. So like Democrat versus Libertarian, you might talk about what they have and what they're similar about, but then what makes them very different. All right. So this week's work. I got 3 things for you to read, but really you only have to read 2, but it would be great if you read all 3. Chapter called White Flight from the book The Color of Law. There's a great article. I think everyone should read The Position of Poverty. I think it would really help people to understand our poverty situation. And then there's a book called an excerpt from All the Rage, Mothers, Fathers, and the Myth of Equal Partnership. And then complete the assignment. I'll show you where this is. So, week 7, reading analysis, assignment 2. Here are the 3 things you can read: The Position of Poverty, All the Rage, and White Flight. Okay. Now, what you should also be reading is the textbook. The textbook goes into much more about cause and effect, classification, comparison, contrast, all that stuff. So you can read the textbook chapters on those. And I believe, let's see. Yeah, it tells you that for 10 is cause and effect, for 11 is comparison contrast, for 12 is classification. Now, for some reason you still don't have the book, you can just do some internet research on these. All right. You can just say, what is cause and effect? What is comparison contrast? Okay. And you can do some self research. Read the required chapters from the textbook or perform adequate research on these. And I'm going to change this because that should be performed. Okay. Oh, make sure you've done the following. You've read or performed. Yeah, no, that's correct. Okay. Then you've read 2 of the 3 posted articles. All right, 2 of these. And then I'm going to, by the time you see this, I'm going to take this out because you already know MLA formatting. I've gone over it several times. If you don't know still how to format your paper correctly for MLA formatting, then you need to look back through our lessons, watch some of the lectures. You need to I'm going to change that. You need to look at the template that I've already posted. You can use the template that I've already posted once, several times. Okay. So I'm going to get rid of that. I'll need to delete that. See, anyways, after finishing the reading, complete this assignment. Okay. On a correctly formatted MLA document, Word or Google Doc, you are going to write 2 paragraphs discussing the 2 articles you read. For each article, decide which type of essay it mostly is. Is it mostly cause and effect? Is it mostly comparison contrast? Or is it classification, division, analysis? I want you to begin each paragraph by stating the title of the article, what type of essay it is, and then go about explaining how it meets that style. Discuss the type of writing and then pull evidence from the articles that prove those points. Okay. Your entire document should be about 300 to 500 words. I don't need you to explain to me the ideas in the articles. And you are not telling me whether you believe the articles or don't believe the articles. like you agree or disagree. No, you're saying this this article, the position of poverty, is a comparison and contrast essay. It compare, and then explain what compare and contrast essays are. Comparison and contrast essays tend to blah 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 blah. They compare blah 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 blah, and they contrast blah 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 blah. In this article, Galbraith, the author, compares blah 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 blah, while also contrasting blah 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 blah. Okay, you are telling me which of these is comparison contrast or cause and effect or classification. You are, in your own words, explaining what those types of essays are. And then you are telling me evidence from the text that shows the author doing that style, comparing, contrasting, causing and affecting, classification, division, okay, classifying and dividing. All right. You don't write about your ideas in terms of whether you agree or disagree with the articles. You don't summarize their articles. You don't summarize. I mean, you do summarize what the author is doing, as long as it's in relation to the type of essay that or style of writing that you say it is. Okay. All right. And then this is the Dropbox. Click on the assignment, and then you can submit your assignment. Okay. Click submit. That's what we're doing here this week. Okay. So I will be grading essays. You will be working on this. If you have not finished your essay, then you need to finish your essay and get it submitted. So that way you can get a grade, and you won't get a 0, and you won't get a 70. Okay. Good. Hopefully. Okay. And we'll be all great. All right. Those are your goals for this week. When you're done with this, you should, as I have stated in the list of assignments and due dates, continue to read your memoir. By the time we're done with essay 2, which I'm going to be talking about next week, you need to be finishing up your memoir. Your memoir needs to be finished leading into October 30th, which means that you essentially have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You have 5 more weeks to finish your book. So what I would do is I would figure out how many pages you have left, divide it by 5. That tells you how many pages per week you need to read. And then I would divide that by 5 and tell myself I have to read this many pages 5 days this week. Okay. All right. If you have any questions, you know what to do. Email me, and I'll eventually get back to you. Okay. All right, y'all. Take it easy. See you around. I'll be grading your essays. Peace out.